Let it go.
How are you doing, guys? Going to tie another muddler here for you this evening. The stone goat muddler. The hook that I'm tying on is a hook-kamasan B175 size 12, and I'm using black UTC tying silk, and tie down the shank of the hook all the way back till you reach the bend. And what I'm going to tie on is a holographic silver tinsel tag to the back of the flea. So I'm just going to wind it back down again to lock that in, and then come back down and just apply the tinsel tag. Coming round the bend of the hook, you're wanting to come round maybe 4 turns and then work your way back. And just bring your silk back down, and then just lock that in, and then just a couple of extra turns just to secure it, trim away your excess, and then just come in and tidy up. At this stage I'm going to tie back down towards the eye, and I'm going to whip finish and tie off at this point, because I'm going to apply a drop of varnish to the tinsel tag just in order to protect it a wee bit. Where's my needle? So just take a drop of varnish and just apply it onto the tinsel tag. Make sure you cover the full tag in the varnish, because as I say, what this does is it just helps to protect it. And I'm going to set that aside and let the varnish dry. And here's one I prepared earlier. So that tag's been varnished and dried. I'm just going to tie back on now. And now we can begin to dress the flea. So the tail of the flea is a golden pheasant crest feather. This is dyed fluorescent yellow. This style of flea, I like to have the tail slightly longer than the shank of the hook. Catch that on. Just check how it's sitting. There we go. I'm happy with that. I'm just going to trim this at an angle just to create a wee taper there. And then we're going to just tie all that and lock that down. At this stage I'm going to catch on the rib of the flea, which is just silver wire, medium silver wire. I'm going to catch that in underneath and keeping the rib towards the underside of the shank. Just tie back down to that point there. At this stage I'm going to apply some wax to my tying silk, and then I'm going to apply the body material of the flea, which I'm using black ice dubbing because it's the first thing that came to hand. Could also just use plain black seal's fur, but I like the black ice. It has a nice effect. The ice has a lovely shine through it, a wee bit more sparkle. Now what I like to do is I like to hold the tail so as that you don't knock it out of position. Bring your dubbing all the way back to the tag, and then just begin to wind down the shank down to there. Tease it all back. Now you'll notice that I'm giving myself a good 2 to 3 mil there at the eye of the hook. That's just so as I can put on a good muddler head. I like a big muddler head on these. Now the palmered hackle on the fly is a magenta cock hackle. That's it there. So I'm just going to catch that in on the side. Couple of nice tight turns just to secure it. Come with your scissors and just trim that away. And then first 2 wraps I like to put around the shoulder of the fly, just for that extra bit of colour. And then begin your palmer. While I'm palmering this, I like to tease the fibres back. The reason being is I think it gives the palmer a nice flare back the way towards the hook. That's the reason I do it. And you're looking for 3 turns down the shank. There we are. And at this stage, cross your hackle with your silver wire. Bring your silver wire up and just catch it in right at the back of your last turn. And that's your palmer locked in. And then you're looking for 4 nice evenly spaced turns down the shank. Don't worry about catching on the hackle fibres, because we can correct that now once we lock our rub in. So just bring your sulk over, catch that in, and then anything going forward, just tease it back, and then an extra couple of turns just to tighten up in that. And that's that. Now, before we get rid of the excess of the palmer, I like to get the toothbrush, and what that does, any hackle fibres that you may have caught in bringing your rib up, this will just tease them all free again. Plus, just gives that the fly a wee bit of a roughening up. Now you see, right, that looks okay, and then you can just, you'll find that this just breaks away. Next hackle on the fly, final hackle, is this feller here. It is a peacock neck feller. You can see the lovely blue. Very, very soft, very mobile, generates a lot of movement in the water. And I'm going to use the full feller. Now, you might think that the length of the fibres on this feller is far too long, but believe you me folks, this is the key to the success of the fly. So what I've done, sorry, before I go any further, I've just exposed the top. I'm going to tie that tail this in by the top in order to get the most out of the fibres. So I'm just going to catch that in on the side, and then I'm going to wind down towards the eye just to give me a nice even bit to get on the muddler head. Trim that away and just come back. Now, these fellers can be fiddly to work with sometimes, but while you're putting your wraps on, just make sure that you're constantly teasing the fibres back. Just be careful and take your time, because as I say, it can be a fiddly feller to work with sometimes, and you'll only get 2-3 turns at a max, but I'm happy enough with a 2. I'm going to tie that off at that. I'm happy enough with that. So just lock it in, and then a couple of extra turns just to secure it. Locate your excess and just come in, turn it away. Now, as I say, you're looking at that and you're probably thinking that those fibres are far too long, but they're not. That's the key to the success of a fly. And I'm just going to wind back on that and put down a nice base in order to create my muddler head. Just going to get this brush all them fibres out. And as I say, it's a really soft feather, very mobile. You want to see the way it moves and the way it reacts with the water. It's brilliant. I love working with it. I think it's great. Brilliant feather to work with. And it drives the trout nuts. Now, now we're going to put on our muddler head. And for the muddler head, I'm just going to use black deer hair. So, just going to tease off a generous bunch of black deer hair, making sure that all my tops are lined up. Trim that away. You could use a hair stacker for this bit. I find it too long. I like to just use my fingers, make sure the tops are all nice and lined up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push the eye of the hook into the centre of the bunch, hold it all in my finger and my thumb, place on 2 loose turns. Don't be tightening up on it, just 2 loose turns just to hold it, and then just forward of the eye, I'm going to trim that as evenly as I can, and then when you're tightening up, just let the deer hairs, oh no, it didn't spin the way I wanted it to. Right, there, we'll try that again. Let's try that again. Right, I'm just going to select another bunch of deer here. Right. What I'm doing here is I'm just doing my best to get the tops lined up. Right, this time instead of pushing the eye under the middle of the bunch, I'm just going to sit it over the top. Catch it, my finger and my thumb. Again, your 2 loose turns just to hold it in place. Now, the closer you trim the deer hair to the eye of the hook, the neater your muddler head will be. I don't like the muddler head to be too neat, so what I do is I trim it just slightly forward of the eye. I much prefer a rougher muddler head to a nice neat one. I think it works so much better in the water. Now, and as you're tightening up, release the deer hair, and it's shit. Back again. Right, I'm making this appear a lot more difficult than it actually is. Deer hair just slipped there, that's all. Right. 3rd time lucky. At least it was, you could see the way it was just about to spin there. Tighten that up. Says this is the only downside to using UTC tinsel. Can be bad for slipping. Right, let's give this one more go. 3rd time lucky. Right, just select a bunch of deer hair again. Just as well, this doesn't normally happen, or I would go through some amount of deer hair, I tell you. Making myself out to be a right chub here, but anyway. Right, just get your tops all lined up again. Just going to do the same thing again. Come over the top, pinch it in my finger and my thumb. 2 loose turns. Right. I trim it just forward of the eye. And as you're tightening up, let go of the deer hair and let it My God. Right. No. Getting very close to losing my patience here. I don't know. I can't understand why this keeps slipping. Right. Right, let's try this one last time. Right. That worked a bit better. Right. Now, sorry about that, guys. Don't know what was going on there. That just didn't work for me at all. So, just going to tease all that, going to work all that deer hair back until it's back behind the eye of the hook. Just keep working it back because it's important that we get a good few turns and behind the eye. You will notice that the deer hair hackle that you form, it may push the peacock feather down, but don't worry about it. See, once it hits the water, that'll all flare out itself. Right, I need to try and just get that back just a wee bit further, just so as I can get a whip finish in behind the eye. Right, there we are. Just going to put a wee drop of wax in the silk. For God's sake. It's just not my day today. Not my day at all. Anything that's going wrong can go wrong. Right. One, two, three. And there we are. Because that's waxed. It'll hold nice and tight. And just come on, trim your silk away. Just a couple of wee bits just to slightly tidy up there. I would normally like to do this out of the vise, but if I take it out of the vise then you won't see what I'm doing, but I'm just slightly just tidying it up. I don't like to tidy it up too much because I do like the muddler head to be nice and rough. The rougher it is, the more water it'll disperse when you're fishing with it, and that's what gets the trout's attention. But here we have it, folks. That's the stone goat muddler. We got there in the end up. That's probably how not to do a muddler head, but we got there eventually. Thanks very much for watching the video, folks. Hit the thumbs up button. Leave comments, let me know what you think. Hit that subscribe button, guys, if you haven't already. Not long now till the trout season. It's just around the corner, a couple of days. Starts on Tuesday. Hopefully we'll get back out in the water and there'll be plenty of more fishing videos to come. But as I said, folks, thanks very much for watching the video. Until next time, guys, tight lines.